USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
This is Rob Long with Martini Shot for The Ankler. This is the third and last installment of my summer vacation series. The first was a few weeks ago, and it was from a train station in France, and last week was a noisy Amsterdam cafe, and this week, for real, I am in Botswana. And I don't know if you can hear it, but that is a hippo in the background. And although I really am in Botswana right now, what you're hearing in the background is a recording I made this morning. See, I can turn it up. That's some noise I made in getting my coffee. And I can turn it down. And that is a perfect emblem for show business, really. Even if it's real, you can still fix it. It's sort of like when they water down the street during a night shoot. You don't really have to do that, but it does make everything look better. So I am in Botswana, driving around and looking at animals and discovering, as I did a few years ago, the last time I went on a safari, that you can come to a wild African plain and see exotic and improbable animals engaged in a daily struggle against remorseless predators and immediately realize that it's just show business under a different sky. Last time, I think I named all of the animal counterparts. The stars are the leopards, snoozing in the trees, super fit, terrifying everything and everyone around them. And the directors are like the Cape buffalo. They're loud and bossy and always wearing a headset or horns. But they're still worried about that leopard. The graceful young impala are obviously the assistants. There are a lot of them, but they're prey, basically. The jackals and the hyenas mostly eat what something else has killed, so they're producers, obviously. In other words, they're always waiting for someone else to do the work first. Buzzards, agents. Warthogs, who carefully back into their snug little holes so they can make a fast retreat. That's sort of executive behavior, right? Ready to bolt and prepared for the worst. And, of course, writers. Writers are rhinos. Weirdly prehistoric. Not terribly strategic, totally endangered. Rhinos are a huge target for poachers, and they will kill the rhino just for the horn, which they grind up and sell to the Chinese, who believe it has aphrodisiac properties. Having a small piece of your work removed, ground up, and used by strangers is sort of what every single writer strike has been about. Baboons, who spend so much of their time chattering and barking and masturbating, they're like the journalists of the Wild Kingdom. Elephants, of course, are kind and loyal and have long memories. They are generous with each other and often playful with people. Elephants lumber along with no obvious agenda or ambition other than to, strip the trees of their leaves and vegetation. Elephants are lovable and loving. They operate under what some might call the assumption of abundance, that there's enough of everything for all of us. So, they have no natural counterpart in show business except on those few occasions when all of us sometimes manage to bring out our inner elephant. Doesn't happen often, but I've seen it. Sure you have too. In the bush, the predators come out at night after a day of snoozing and circling the perimeter and noticing where the zebras and the antelope are hanging out. So in the early morning, when the sun is just barely visible, there's a rising chorus from all of the animals, barking and chirping and generally making a lot of noise, as if to celebrate the fact that they all made it through the terrifying night. Well, not all, obviously, but the ones making noise made it through. So when the latest Superman movie opened to a $217 million weekend, you heard the same kind of joyful, relieved, and exhausted sounds coming from Burbank. We made it through another perilous weekend release. But a few hours later, it's back to getting stalked and eaten, of course, because every studio has that kind of delusional celebration after a successful release that the company is saved, we're on a roll, but you're only as good as your latest hit. You're only as safe as last night. The lion, of course, seems to be above it all. The lion is what they call an apex predator, like a whale or a human, a thing that doesn't really have anything else that can actually kill it and eat it. And that's true. The lion sit in the shade, blinking impassively at the landscape, taking it all in. Just this afternoon, I saw a lioness strolling a bit near a creek, just making mental notes for later, seeing what might be on that night's menu. Kind of like circling the Erewhon before you put anything in your cart. So it's tempting to see the lion as a model for a life and career goal. I want to be on top. I want to be the apex. I want the landscape to erupt in alarm calls when I approach. When a carnivorous predator is near, the mostly vegan prey freeze in panic. Heads turn to the direction of the danger. And I've seen that same face on first ADs when a star is barreling towards them with a complaint. I've seen that same face on assistants when their phones light up with calls from their bosses. Freeze. Terror. Am I going to make it through this? So we like to think that if you have to be something, be a lion. But a lion does have a predator, and that's just another lion. When the male lion is old, and not necessarily even that old, just older than the other male lions, things start to get ugly and dangerous around the pride. The last thing a male lion sees is a younger male lion going for his throat. And it must be hard to, really take that kind of ingratitude. I mean, they're not even going to eat you. The hyenas and the buzzards and the jackals and the bugs will sort out the carcass. Talk about a come down. And this, unfortunately, is where the African plain and show business diverge. At least it seems so these days. The names of the people running companies, making green light decisions, managing and agenting and studio execing, a lot of them seem like the same old names. Names we've heard for years, moving from one studio to the next. Old lions, you could say, moving around the African landscape with what seems like zero consequences. Sort of makes you wonder where the young lions are, right? And when they're going to make their move. I mean, now seems like a good time. But what do I know? I'm just an old rhino. And that's it for this week. Next week, summer vacation is over. Back to work. For the Ankler, this is Rob Long and a hippo, if you can hear it, with Martini Shot.